Another live episode of Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. I'm Jason Aponte, joined as always by Steph Sanchez. Steph, how are you? Hair's looking great.
I'm good, thank you. I'm surprised because I actually just took a hat off. Yeah, I wake up in the morning and sometimes the hair's like sticking in different directions, but I haven't washed my hair today yet. So, I had to put some water on it, put a hat on to flatten out the sides, because those get crazy during the night. And, apparently it looks fine. Thank you.
I think it looks great. And also, while Steph and I share similar struggles, Steph has the superior hair. That's why I put my hat on. I'm not doing anything with this hat. Like, especially I gotta get it really up in the morning, get it ready to go, and just go. But yeah, that's not why you guys are here. I'm trying to make sure that everybody gets lined up. So make sure you guys are subscribed to all three of our YouTube channels. And make sure you get the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcast. So, Steph, before we get into what everybody's here for and what everybody's talking about in the comment section, you've dropped another fire video. And I feel like you and we didn't know we were doing this. I dropped the reel on Instagram. You dropped the reel on Instagram, TikTok, all those things. And it kind of just happened at the same time. Yours made me super happy. And I know you love Bill Hader and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
yours made me super, super happy. So for you guys that don't know, obviously Steph is our resident Nick Bosa impersonator. Obviously the team knows, right? John Lynch knows and has that video still. I'm sure he looks at it when he's down so he can get a good laugh and things like that. But this new one is so good, and I think Rob has it queued up. It's so good that we have to watch it like again, and I'm fine with it because it gives me a good laugh. So let's get it. Uh-oh.
That's interesting. Hey, Cal.
How you doing?
I'm good.
How's the workout been going?
It's been good. Just did a PR yesterday.
How's Florida? How's the boat?
And the boat's great. Hot. We need to get you out here soon.
You look tan. Your legs still look big.
It's nice of you to notice, I guess.
What are you gonna do today?
Heading to the gym. Oh, by the way, Kyle, before I forget, my agent sent over some updated numbers in the contract proposal. Did you guys get that yet? Hello? Yeah, he definitely got him.
Steph, first of all, masterful work as usual. But a quick question. That leg massager thing, did you literally go and buy that just for that?
No,
Okay.
I did not. My
Okay.
girlfriend got it as a gift a couple years ago. We never use it, and like it's funny because I only use it for these like Nick Bosa skits, so it has worked out.
So good. So good, guys. And that's you definitely have to make sure that you follow Steph on TikTok because those can happen at any moment. Put a lot of work in there. I think that is your finest work, especially with the way that you're answering Kyle. Like when you said that part about we got to get you on the boat, I lost it, man. It's so good.
And before we move on to the next topic, though, I got a quick birthday shout out to my brother. It's his
Nice.
birthday today, so shout out to him.
Jimmy
And
G?
Jay, yeah, a lot of people say he looks like Jimmy G. I wish we had a picture we can like pull up. But every time we go to games together, there's people who are like, "Hey, Jimmy G, Jimmy G." It's madness. It's insane.
Not a bad person to look like. Miss you, Jimmy. Also, might see you soon, pal. Either way, Steph, you know why everybody's here. So last night, something kind of broke about Deebo Samuel being, I think, on a Philadelphia radio station, CBS Sports, something to that effect.
Mhm.
And Deebo Samuel was asked about the Eagles and kind of gave a short answer, gave a shorter answer, and then hung up. Steph, doesn't it feel like Deebo Samuel's tired of talking about the Eagles?
It does. A couple of things with this clip, right? One, I want to say that if any Eagles player were to be in that same situation where they were asked either about the 49ers or, the Super Bowl, and they ended up hanging up, and that clip circulated, 49er fans, Chiefs fans, everyone would be laughing at that player. And so I just want to point out, don't let the bias get the best of you. People are laughing at Deebo Samuel for doing this and just calling him, a crybaby or whatever you want to call it. I hate to say, Jay, Eagles and the 49ers since the Super Bowl, since the NFC championship game, they're having a cry off. I fear. Like they're so in their feelings about what happened. Again, both in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game, respectively. And at this point, it's getting kind of lame. But that being said, those questions from that interviewer were whack. They were lazy. There's so much other stuff you could have asked Deebo. One thing I could think of is him talking about, last season being terrible for him. Talk about that. Talk about, Deebo and what's going on with him and all that stuff. So I get it. I get the frustration. Obviously, you could tell right away that he was frustrated. And as an interviewer, you need to be able to, at that point, pivot. Unless your whole spiel or your whole goal was to piss Deebo off. Maybe that was his goal, to get better content, because now that clip's circulating and is getting a bunch of views. Listen, New York Times said they're getting rid of their, sports reporting division. Maybe CBS should consider doing the same.
Oh man, that's spicy. All right, well, we have the audio. Rob, pull up the audio so we can listen
Pull it
to
up,
exactly.
Rob.
Pull it up, Rob. Let's make sure that we see what exactly is going on. I also want to say this. Once I'm done, I got a little tangent to go on as well too, especially after I cooked the Eagles last week. It's so funny. So funny how this is continuing on. But Rob, when you're ready, you can pull that up. But I'm just tired of talking about them. They're not in a division. You're only going to play them once. You probably won't play them again. The idea that the Eagles will make it back to where they were with all these new players and Shane Steichen's gone. It's just they're kind of counting their chickens, and I guess you can in the NFC because it's so weak. All the guys have shifted over to the AFC, but Deebo's in a no-win situation here. If Deebo talks about it, oh, he's a crybaby. He's still crying about it. If he hangs up the phone, oh, he's a crybaby. Stop asking these young men about this. It's really stupid, in my opinion. Stop asking them about it. It is very lazy. So anybody who wants to call Deebo a crybaby, whatever it is, you already just don't like the 49ers, or you're just trying to stir the pot at this point. Now, I will say this. Deebo isn't the greatest interviewer, right? He comes off standoffish at times. He gives short answers. Doesn't seem like he ever wants to really be there. That's another thing as well, too. But also, I have to kind of give it to Deebo a little bit more in terms of, hey, just say, listen, it happened. This is what's going on. We're focused on this year. See, I just gave a coach speak answer. See, I can just come off the top of my head, give a coach speak answer and just keep it moving. I don't want to talk about them. And let's also not also lie about the Eagles. And they've been crying about the Super Bowl. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brandon Graham. We didn't forget about you. We haven't forgotten. You're still crying about the Super Bowl. So don't talk about anybody crying, because Steph is dead on. You cry, they cry Eagles cry. They've been crying. So I don't want to hear that either as well, too. It's really annoying. So Rob's got the clip. Let's play it.
Deebo Samuel here with us. Well, something that is your call. I saw what you said about the Eagles back at the Super Bowl at Sirius, where if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, you guys would have won that game by double digits. Why would that have been the case?
I don't know. That's old.
So do you not still believe that?
I mean, I do, but I mean, we're not. That shit is we're not gonna keep talking about it. I mean, I said what I said.
Gotcha. So then what happens this year when you play Philly on December 3rd?
I don't know. Just wait till week 13, 12, whatever week it is. We'll show you.
Well, then you know how that's going to go down. You're going into Philadelphia. Those fans are going to be booing you loud. You have a message for Eagles fans?
Hey, guys.
Yeah?
All right, we're good to go.
What do you mean? We have Deebo on right now.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to head into camp right now.
Are you serious? Okay. Thank you. There you
Thanks,
go.
Bye.
And again, Deebo literally said what we were just saying. What else is he supposed to say? What's said is said, and he's tired of talking about it. I understand.
He sounded pissed, and for good reason. I would say players, whoever does these interviews, I think they need to start asking for the questions ahead of time, because you, as someone who's getting interviewed, I feel like Deebo probably has the power to say no, I'm not answering these questions. Don't ask me these. Scrap these. It might seem diva-ish, but at the same time, it would avoid situations like this where, the interviewer is getting embarrassed on live radio, right? So I think in the future they should consider that. My 2 cents.
And then another thing, again, is he's asked the question. If during the interview when they're asking him, which they did, about the quarterback situation, about his season, all that stuff, If during that interview he's like, yeah, I can't wait to see the Eagles, that's rent-free, him bringing it up.
Right.
And for a lot of people that are like, why are the 49ers still talking about it? Well, I was at the Super Bowl. When Trey Lance was asked about the Eagles, he was asked about the Eagles. Every Eagles player was asked about the 49ers. Stop making it seem like guys are going out of their way to talk about it on Twitter the way the Eagles are going out of their way to talk about the Super Bowl in the slippery field, and it's not fair, Steph. We lost. No. You're bringing it up. They're being asked. Whether Deebo answered it correctly or didn't is whatever, right? Because you still have to maintain some sort of professionalism. You have to understand that if you're going into a Philadelphia sports network, whatever it is on CBS Sports, that you're going to be asked something about it. Stop, man. Just stop making it seem like the 49ers are the ones talking about it. They're being asked about it. The Eagles are the ones talking about the Super Bowl, and they're crying about that. And you know what? I fear you're not going to get back. No matter how everybody says, oh, we're just going to get back. No, I don't think you are. Regression is on the way. There's a such thing as a Super Bowl hangover. It's hard for you to duplicate what you did last year, especially with some of the people that you lost up front. Thank you, Javon Hargrave, as well, too. So to kind of put a bow on it, it's just, I'm done with it. Now I'm going to make a statement on this podcast. This is the last time I'm discussing the Philadelphia Eagles unless we're being asked about an NFC preview. No, unless we're being asked about an NFC preview and who's good in the NFC, which the Eagles are.
Or Week 13.
Week 13 is when we'll talk about it. That's it. I don't want to hear about it. Week 13 is when we'll talk about it. Don't ask me about the Eagles. I don't care. And we'll get our look back in Week 13 and we'll run it back and we'll see where it's at. Okay.
Jay just said that if you ask him about the Eagles, he's hanging up. Okay.
I'm going to hang up. I'm hanging up.
Don't do it.
I'm hanging up. No coach speak answer for that. I'm hanging up. And I live close enough to Philly that, don't get me started. Anyway. All right.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though, right? Like, I think whatever Deebo would have said if he stayed on that line would have been way worse than him just hanging up.
100%.
Let's just leave it at that. So I think he did the mature thing at that point.
He also used TV mature words, and he called his publicist Ashley. He's like, Ashley, come over here. Like almost like Steph, Rob, bleep it out. Ashley, hang it up. He literally did that.
Hang it up, Ashley.
Hang it up, Ashley. All right. Hey, look, I know we're getting closer and closer to training camp. 2 weeks away. Dates are still not announced for whatever reason. We know when the guys are going to report. That doesn't mean that those are the days that they're going to be practicing. It's usually about 2 days after. So if I was guessing, I'm waiting to book a flight. If I was guessing, I would probably say the 27th is going to be your first day. Who knows? 49ers, what are you doing? It's the 11th already. Let's make something happen.
Do you think that they're trying to avoid this content creator takeover at
content creator Royal Rumble?
Yeah. They're like, oh hell, there too many of them are planning to go.
I have bad news.
Wait.
I have bad news for people. I am not going to be counting throws and well, he charted 7 for 11 and he charted. No, I'm going to tell you, this guy looked good. I'm going to try to watch as much as I can. So I've got bad news for you. I'm not charting throws or anything like that because there's sacks that happen. Once the quarterback gets touched on the back, those type of things. Like, again, Trey Lance could throw the ball down the field, but he got touched on the back. That's technically a sack, but you count it as a completion. Please, man, I don't care, man. Let somebody else do that. You'll have 10 people. One person will say he's 1 for 11. You have another person to say he was 11 for 11. A lot of people, unfortunately, just don't know what they're watching sometimes. Anyway, but yeah, I think that they might be doing that, but either way, like they're not giving us any dates. So right now we've got to come up with content that's outside of the quarterback position, or unless you want to talk about the fact that Sam Darnold seeing ghosts at George Kittle's house. Sorry, could not resist.
He said there were no ghosts, Jay.
Oh, he's lying, man. No. How does he know, man? No, but Jeremy Fowler runs this piece. I think it's like the 4th or 5th year where he polls about 80 general managers, coaches, players from across the league, and he polls them to put up the best players in the league, and he goes position by position. So some of them put in one player, some of them voted on all the positions. But I wanted to point out, we have a large discussion, and it's funny because your video starts with I think that's Lane Johnson's top edge list, right? Yeah. So that didn't include Nick Bosa. But looky. Nick Bosa, according to these 80 general managers, coaches, players who have been polled, is the number 1 edge rusher in football. And I'll read real quick. His highest ranking was 1. His lowest ranking was 5. His last year's ranking was number 3. 4 years ago, the 49ers stumbled into the number 2 overall pick in the draft thanks to a fluky 4-win season fueled in part by the then quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo's season-ending injury. Their selection, Bosa, became the best pass rusher in the NFL. Size, strength, power, speed, quickness, solid length, repertoire of moves, and high motor, a high-ranking NFL official has said. He got it all. He was the league sack king last season with 18.5, produced a 15.3% pressure rate on his pass rushes in 2022 per Next Gen Stats. And his 48 quarterback hits led the field by 12. Evaluators say Bosa's leverage, get off, technique, attention to detail set him apart. He's just so fast and twitchy, and NFC exec said. He turns the edge so well and has a knack to get the ball back. He seems to make a game-changing play every week. Steph, you know what that sound is? It's the Brinks truck. Back it up. What do you think?
Beep, beep, beep. Yes, sir. I mean, it's the truth, man. And that's why I was so, mad about him not being on Lane Johnson's top 5 list. And okay, sure, Lane Johnson has to play the Cowboys, twice a year. So maybe that's why he had 2 Cowboys on there. It seemed a little excessive to me, but come on, man. Nick Bosa deserves to be at the top of every list that includes defensive players, period. So I don't think it's a hot take to say that this is this regime's best draft pick by far. And it was an easy one, right? He was sitting right there. But yeah, I mean, there's not much you could say about Nick Bosa that isn't like, glowing reviews about him. So yeah, he's going to get that big ass contract. And I can't wait. He deserves it.
Right. And again, on our last show, when we talked about the odds, I picked Nick Bosa to double up as a DPOY this year as well, too. I know a lot of people are concerned because he's going to get paid right before training camp that maybe, he kind of lets up. I don't think that that's going to happen as well, too. But rounding out the top 5, Myles Garrett, number 2, Micah Parsons, number 3, TJ Watt, number 4, and hold your ears, Hassan Reddick, number 5 for the NFL's top edge rushers. Now, Steph, when we were talking about the edge rushers from last season, it really was a 2-man race between Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa because Myles Garrett got injured, because TJ Watt lost a lot of his season to the torn pec. If all 4 of those guys are healthy, all 5 of those guys are healthy, it's going to be a lot harder for him to duplicate that. I mean, for God's sakes, TJ Watt was on a historic pace in sacking the quarterback. He's very good at football. So to see this, it's really great. And I know 49er fans are excited, but I do think the context of Myles Garrett had a bit of a down year because he was injured, and so TJ Watt kind of makes it easier to just put Nick Bosa in there, even if he is super deserving of it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, last week I disagreed with you on, Nick Bosa getting DPOY for a second year in a row, just because TJ Watt, like I think would have been in that conversation, and he seems to be not the poster boy, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just like my bias speaking that I feel like, people forget about 49ers players sometimes in such conversations, but I feel like people would put TJ Watt over Nick Bosa, which is you can make that argument. But that's why I'm not sure if Nick Bosa would get it again, just because if TJ Watt is healthy, he's going to have a monster season as well. And, I could see him being one of the favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the numbers for TJ Watt, which they're right here, I mean, oh my goodness, man, led the league with 15 and then 22.5, 13, 14.5, 15, 22.5, 5.5 in 5 games. I mean, TJ Watt is a dog, man. 8 forced fumbles in 2019. Incredible. And again, last season, he would have possibly done the same exact thing, man. And I think, look, 49er fans, TJ Watt's been doing it longer and has bigger numbers. I know we love our players. I know we love Nick Bosa. I think he's well worth of the, deserving this, but stop sleeping on TJ Watt, man. If he has a full season, you can expect that over again. That's an historic rate, 22.5.
Yeah.
That's historic. So it's just good to see that. Again, I think a lot of this list has to do with the fact of what happened last year and why guys are there, because even if you read the article, which is on ESPN, by the way, cut the check, they actually say that the singular talent, the best singular talent at the edge rusher position is actually Myles Garrett, but he's too inconsistent in terms of his production, which is why you can't give him the nod. So, again, this is off of last year, and that's why you're going to see Nick Bosa there as well, too. Okay. Rob, do we have any other? I think it's just the edge rusher ones that were there in terms of that. But if there is something else, then you could pull it up. I actually wanted to talk about something real quick about that I wrote about, Steph, real fast. during the content time, it's really hard to figure out what to write about. If you want to write think pieces about quarterbacks, go ahead. I mean, everybody's putting them out there on Twitter, Threads, whatever social media you're on right now. But I thought it was kind of fun. I found like four like forgotten NFL players or just misremembered 49er players. And, three of them were actually, well, two of them were shocking. The other two I kind of had in my head because I remember. So for anybody who, is on Instagram, does comedy, right? Spice Adams, 49ers legend, right? Drafted by the 49ers in the second round, right? Now comedy influencer, somebody who's really funny. But Steffi actually had a pretty long career of about like 6, 7, 8 seasons between the 49ers and the Bears. I think that's kind of interesting that people forget that Spice Adams was actually a legit football player.
An elite name, by the way,
Yeah.
like Spice Adams, like that's elite. But yeah, I mean, I think what years did he play? Do you know that?
I do have that. I'll pull that up real quick if you want to talk about that real fast.
Yeah, because
here it is.
Yeah. Anthony Adams. Yeah,
Anthony Adams. So Anthony Adams was drafted
government
in
name Anthony Adams.
2003 in the second round. Was much better. I would say in run defense. Especially when you look at this. I mean, he only had 10.5 sacks. But tackle for loss 5, 6, 3. His approximate value, which is the way that Pro Football Reference basically gives value to players in their season, 5 and 6 in 2004 and 2005, 8 in his last year in 2010. A 9-year career, not bad for a comedy influencer, man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty entertaining for sure. Like I don't think I really knew about him too much around this time. Like, yeah, this is probably around the time I started becoming a fan of the Niners, but I wasn't that deep into the trenches, but I love his comedy.
Excellent pun because he's in the trenches as well too. So two coaches, one who's actually a head coach now and one who is a Hall of Fame head coach. Tony Dungy played one season as a San Francisco 49er, and Todd Bowles played one season as a San Francisco 49er in 1991. He was signed when the Washington football team, bleep it out, Rob. They left him unprotected, and the 49ers signed him, and he played safety. So, again, forgotten players, right? And then the last one is Rod Woodson, man. Right before Rod Woodson went and became a Pro Bowler again with the Baltimore Ravens, you guys forget that he was there for 1 year with the San Francisco 49ers. Hell of a career, Rod Woodson. But I thought that was kind of interesting, especially when you go back and you look at the random names that are there. Everybody can pull up J.J. Stokes and, this guy and this guy. But, like Tony Dungy playing one season, Todd Bowles playing one season. And I didn't know Todd Bowles is from New Jersey. He's from Elizabeth. So shout out to him, man. Jersey boy, made good. But, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. No, not saying that name. Bleep it out. Get it off the screen. Not saying that name. All right. Well, there was one other list as well, too. They actually posted the off-ball linebackers. Steph, who's number one? I'll give you two guesses. You'll probably just need one.
Yeah, I mean, who else than Fred Warner, right? And I love this because Fred Warner, you can make the argument about Nick Bosa as, best edge rusher, sure. But Fred Warner, it seems like you can't really make an argument about anyone else getting this spot other than Fred Warner. And I love that for him, and I love that for the 49ers. And it's true. I mean, he's the best at it. And so let's see some of the quotes that people said about Fred. He's the perfect new age linebacker, great against the pass, but can handle himself against the run. A big athlete with plus leadership and communication. That was from an AFC scout. Yeah, and I would say, I think Fred Warner kind of started the new trend of linebackers in the NFL, where after he got drafted, it was like, well, who's the next Fred Warner? Every year, right? It was like, who's the next Fred Warner? And he kind of, I think, started this sideline to sideline, trend for linebackers and just his particular skill set. And also, I think coming from the safety background is one thing that I think scouts looked at, after he got drafted and seen how much success he had.
Yeah, and our good friend Jordan Elliott actually charted the Dallas Cowboy game in which he wasn't just like following CeeDee Lamb. He was blanketing him from literally mugging over the A gap and then jumping back. Like, I mean, that's obviously the safety background, but as big as he is as a linebacker, to be able to do things like that is special. And again, I think to your point with Nick Bosa, if somebody wants to say TJ Watt's the best, if somebody wants to say this guy's the best, you can have an argument with that. There is no argument for any linebacker to be anywhere near the discussion with Fred Warner. So this one is super easy. In the beginning, the way that blurb starts was, I can't believe that someone had him ranked 3. And who is this person? Reveal yourself. and who are these other 2 linebackers that you feel are better than Frederico Warner? Because I don't know who they are. I don't think they're real. But Rob brings up a good point. Do you think that Steve Wilkes is going to use him to blitz a little bit more this year? Because you do feel like maybe he's going to be a bit more aggressive?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I've looked at this in the past, just Steve Wilkes blitzing numbers, and not only linebackers, but I think, of course, the defensive backs as well are going to get involved. I mean, the 49ers were 20th in blitz rate last season, but Steve Wilkes, as the Browns defensive coordinator back in 2019, he dialed up 35.3% blitzes, and that was 4th in the NFL. So, yeah, I think he's definitely going to be more involved. Also, as a Panthers defensive coordinator, Wilkes blitzed 44% of dropbacks, and that was 2nd in the league, and used defensive backs on 13.9 of those. And when you have a player like Fred Warner, you have to take advantage of that. So seeing those blitz numbers from Steve Wilkes, knowing that the 49ers have Fred Warner who can do it all, I think, yes, he's definitely going to get into that bag of tricks.
Okay, and I'm pulling this up now because I definitely want to see who else was ranked number 1. Roquan Smith is number 2. His highest ranking was number 2. Tremaine Edwards was highest ranking was number 2. So that's 2. It's a former Bear and a new Bear. Number 4, Matt Milano was 4th. Devin White was highest ranked number 2. Demario Davis is number 6. He was highest ranked at number 2. Shaquille Leonard is 7. His highest rank was 6. Nick Bolton from Kansas City, that's 5. CJ Mosley was 5 from the Jets. And Dre Greenlaw, number 10, but highest rank, number 3.
Yo, that's wild. I don't know if I do all that, but that's cool. But you know what it is? And I was thinking this when we were talking about Fred Warner being unquestionably like number 1. When people look at linebacker rankings, they always, 49ers are always in the top 3. Why is that? Because of Fred Warner. He's pulling so much weight on this linebacker unit. It's not so much about Dre Greenlaw, although I thought he stepped up big last season. He had a great year, and I think he just continues to improve as a player. But let's be honest. I think the reason that he's number 10 on this list and someone had him as high as 3, it's the Fred Warner effect.
Okay, and I guess this person, Jeremy Fowler, Greenlaw no longer plays in the shadow of Warner or any other 49er. He emerged as a standout in his 4th season, made a huge jump, relentless and extremely physical, and took a big jump in coverage. Obviously benefits from the guys around him, but he made so many big plays this year. There you go. Obviously benefits from the guys around him. 2 forced fumbles tied him for 1st on the defense, has 127 tackles with the 2nd most. Greenlaw's minus 28 expected points added when targeted led all NFL linebackers. I feel like people don't know who he was for a while, but he's a major player, a Pro Bowl defensive player set. Wow. There you go. Yeah. So 2 49ers in the top 10. Today would be, I believe they're dropping cornerbacks. Oh, do we riot if Mooney Ward is not on this list?
I'd be surprised if he was, honestly, just because, as a whole, the secondary unit for the 49ers last season, it feels like it was just yesterday. Last season, was the weak point of the defense, and everyone knew it. Like, especially casual fans or people from the outside looking in thought that the 49ers secondary, was bad, right? Because it gave up so many big plays. So I wouldn't expect Mooney Ward, as good as he is, to be on that list for that reason.
I think 49er fans are going to be upset. Well, I mean, naturally, 49er fans are upset. Yeah. Naturally, 49er fans are upset.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take too much. Like, he could literally be number 1, and they would say, who ranked him 3rd? I hate him. They lose it.
Okay, let's predict what the content aggregators are going to say.
Oh,
revenge
ESPN,
season loading.
ESPN disrespects Mooney Ward, or Mooney. What is it? Mooney comeback season. Let him doubt.
with the emoji of the smoke coming out of the nose.
Yeah, exactly. That's always a good one. So we'll find out what ESPN does when they put it out. It should be out a little bit later. Yeah, Mooney Ward season loading. You know what? All right. I have a question, and this has to do with the 49ers. And look at us. I'm not talking about the quarterback. Look at us.
Look at us. Who would have thought?
Who'd have thought? Not me. The Colin McKivitz thing. I kind of want to circle back from last season when the idea of Jake Brendel starting, Banks is starting, Burford starting, and then you kind of know what you've got: left tackle, right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, Trent Williams. And now the 49ers really only have one sort of question mark. I mean, obviously there's questions as to whether Burford can take another step. Can Banks continue to improve? Can Brendel keep up the same sort of durability and baseline play that he gave last season? But should the 49ers have the benefit of the doubt when they say that it's Colton McKivitz when there's really no real backup plan in the building that you feel super excited about? Like Jalen Moore is an option, clearly. Possibly it could be Matt Pryor. Are the 49ers banking too hard on Colton McKivitz, or should we just give them the benefit of the doubt?
I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt because they've done this before, especially with the offensive line where they get someone who isn't some high caliber player, and we doubt that that player is going to end up being the starter or the right choice. And they end up doing just fine. Jake Brendel rings a bell in that conversation, right? So I think they know that their scheme is able to, maybe elevate certain players to an extent, right? And certainly they feel that way about Colt McKivitz. But I think another reason to feel optimistic that the 49ers, trust what they've seen. Colton McKivitz was drafted by the 49ers. They've seen him for the last few years, and they've seen what he has become. And of course, he wasn't going to be starting over Mike McGlinchey, but the fact also that they were willing or considering trading Mike McGlinchey last season tells you they would have been comfortable with Colton McKivitz starting as early as last year. So I think that tells you that they have a lot of trust in him. And based on that, I'm going to trust the 49ers because they have seen him way more than we have. The fact that we haven't really seen him at all is what gives us pause and makes us second guess that this is the right choice. But I think overall it's going to be a good move for this team. Now, I also think the fact that there's a lot of continuity going into this season on the offensive line elsewhere, that's going to help Colton McKivitz too. And I mean, like I said, Colton McKivitz has been on this team, so he might not even experience the slow start like other players who are learning the system as they go, right, with each week. So he knows the system, and, hopefully it should be a pretty seamless transition into a starting role.
Yeah, and again, Kyle Shanahan is not going to leave him on an island. Obviously, there's obvious passing situations. There's nothing you can do because game flow dictates or game plans on the other side dictate those things. But, I mean, Kyle's hidden players before. I mean, for God's sakes, he had people actually believing that Tom Compton was some sort of an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey, right? Like that's what the scheme does. The scheme just doesn't elevate quarterbacks and star players. It elevates everybody on the offense, and that's part of the confidence that you should have really when it comes to that. So sure, he's earned the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of people would have been skeptical last season when you heard that Spencer Burford would start. Clearly, Daniel Brunskill gave them a chance to ease him into the role, which it doesn't have to make sense to us. The method to the madness doesn't have to make sense, but they rotated them both, and they didn't want him to get overwhelmed. And it worked for as long as it did. I mean, the 49ers got as close as they did. So I think they do. I really think they do. But the concern comes in where you said, just you can be hopeful, but not seeing it. I'm very much like I got to see it a little bit. So that's sort of, I guess, what training camp is going to be for. He's going to have to go against, Nick Bosa, and we'll see, so we will see. I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I think it's something that the fan base is nowhere near as panicked now about offensive line than they were last year. Last year, it was, oh my God, Brendel, Banks, Burford, what are we going to do? I am so scared. And you know what? For all intents and purposes, it really kind of worked out. And again, that's part due to the scheme, but it's also part due to the development of Chris Forrester and what Kyle Shanahan has. Okay. I got one more question for you, Steph. Nick Bosa is going to have 70 billion sacks this year. I think that's the official number that we're putting, right? Now, who has the second most sacks on this team. And that is going to be interesting.
That's interesting. I would say Javon Hargrave is that's kind of my choice.
Better be, pal.
I mean, he had 11 sacks last season, and that was, him, someone benefiting also from the Eagles having a stacked defensive line. He now joins a 49ers stacked defensive line. So I think he's going to be up there, but maybe Eric Armstead kind of surprised us this season too, right? Because I do think Javon Hargrave is going to help Eric out this season, and he's not going to get as much attention, which is going to be detrimental to some offensive lines and some quarterbacks out there. So I don't know, maybe he can sneak in and get double digits this year too.
Yeah, I can see both sides of the coin, right? Javon Hargrave is here to produce, and he's a stud, and he's the best at the position. But what if all that attention he draws gets Eric Armstead some more advantageous looks? What if all of that attention at all three of those guys gets Drake Jackson some looks? That's really what's interesting about this. It's not as cut and dry like as just Hargrave. Obviously, let's talk about like betting again. The smart money or the easy money would be on that because he's so good. But pay a little bit more attention to him. You don't pay enough to Eric. You don't pay enough to Drake Jackson. Now you might start to see a different shift. And then that's where the sack number and always my contention with just, how many sacks did he have? It doesn't always show impact. I like pressures over sacks. Now sacks are great because you actually finished, but you could have a pressure from another side and literally have the quarterback run right into you, and then you end up with a sack. I don't necessarily sacks isn't the end all be all, should be one piece of the puzzle. So I am very interested. It should be Hargrave is the answer. But what if Hargrave demands so much attention that Eric Armstead gets all of these advantageous looks? What if they start moving Armstead around a little bit more? Maybe he gets on the edge when they can feel like they want to show some things, right? Like we even saw D'Amico kind of put Drake mugging over the C gap and then moving guys outside. What if Steve Wilks starts to get that type of creative with it? So it should be Hargrave, but it's going to be interesting to see with the attention that Hargrave demands. Will it benefit someone else and get into sacks? And like Kurt Sampson says, Armstead's going to get a lot of capture sacks. So yeah, I really think that's a good point too.
Watch it be like Clinton Farrell.
Austin Bryant, come on down, buddy. It's your time, pal. I still don't think that. Gad, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say it could happen. I think there's room in this rotation with this defensive line for everyone to be, productive. I mean, Omenihu, who was a rotational guy, 4.5 sacks last season, right? And I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. We could get surprised.
Okay. So to end this off, I'm gonna have to ask you: am I gonna see you at training camp?
So I'm waiting for the dates to drop, but as of right now, my plan is to be there for the second week.
Okay.
Because I get back from vacation on the 23rd. I feel like if I go that same week, I'm gonna be dead. I need some time. So second week I'll be there. And then of course, we already know we're gonna be in Vegas acting goofy.
Vegas is up. Yeah, no, Vegas is done. That's done deal. And listen to me, Jimmy Garoppolo. You get your ass to that practice. Real quick, breaking news: out-of-state content creators World Peer Training Camp. Steph, what's your favorite moment from last year's training camp? Because we got a lot, man. We did a lot of stuff. Didn't pull up to Yard House this time. We did a lot of stuff though. What was yours?
Honestly, so not looking at the practice specifically, but just outside of practices, meeting Angie was maybe one of the top moments. Just because, for those of you who don't know, 49 Carats podcast, which is my current podcast that I do by myself, but I actually started with Angie. Some of you might know her as Angie Sunshine on Twitter and whatnot.
One of the
sunshines. So meeting her in person was pretty cool to finally do.
That's it? Nothing with me? Cool, whatever. This is the end of the episode. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here.
Was that the first time we met in person too?
No.
Okay,
yes.
Then.
Wait, yes, right?
Oh, shit. Okay.
Rob, bleep that out too. Angie from Turlock, Brett Rumbeck says. Turlock legend, Brett Rumbeck in here. When you think of Turlock, you think of Brett Rumbeck, you think of Angie, you think of Colin Kaepernick. All three of those guys, legends, just at the top right there. So,
Hey, but
yeah.
I got a question for you for camp.
Yep.
So, because we were both kind of drippy, you know, like you brought the shoe game out. What is your like holy grail of travel shoes? Like, what's a pair that you always try to bring with you?
Oh man, if not 1, 2 pairs of Jordan 1s at least, man. They're comfortable, they're all purpose. If I want to throw them on with a suit jacket, they'll be fine. You don't look crazy. You want to wear them with shorts, they look fine. They look fine with jeans. Jordan 1s definitely got to, but I always have to bring my pair of Adidas, man, because those are my perfect flying shoes. They're slip on, they're 49ers colors, they're super comfortable. And they're perfect to travel in. Like Adidas pants and those shorts, like and those sneakers, you have to, because it's so hard to get from. Well, not hard. It's like 5-6 hours from where I live. But yeah, you got to travel comfortably. Otherwise, it's going to be horrible for you.
So you do Adidas sweatpants. You got the whole jumpsuit going?
No,
like,
stop it. I'm not Run DMC. My biggest pet peeve is, and I went to the Yankee game on Saturday. My biggest pet peeve is like, if you're wearing Adidas socks, don't wear Nikes. If you're wearing Adidas sneakers, don't wear Nike socks. Please do not cross brand. If I'm going to wear my Adidas pants, I'm not going to wear them with Jordans or Air Forces or Nikes or anything like that. No.
See, this is why I don't buy any of those name brand socks, because I would do that.
What? Steph, all right.
But I don't though, because I don't have Adidas or Nike socks.
Jason's a clothes snob. I'm not a clothes snob. I'm a brand snob. It's not the same thing. First, Steph says that her favorite thing in training camp has nothing to do with me, and now she says this, man. I'm done with this, man. This is the end of the episode. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like this video on all 3 channels. Subscribe to all 3 channels. Subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure that you guys are following Gold Standard Podcast Networks on Twitter, GSN 49ers on Instagram. And Rob said there's a new story dropping on the website as well, too. He's got some Deebo thoughts. And Rob's not going to say anything that you guys want to hear. Yeah, he's going to cook. He's going to cook. Wait, Nike and Jordan, that counts. That's the same thing.
Nike
is Jordan. Yeah, what there is no Jordan without Nike. Of course that counts. Yeah. That's not the same thing. Adidas is not Nike. Nike and Jordan is the same thing. That does not count at all. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are subscribed everywhere. Make sure you follow Steph. Make sure you follow me on Twitter or Threads. I don't know what we're doing. I don't think anybody's on Twitter and nobody's on Threads either. Everybody's just kind of sitting at home. Hope you guys are hanging out with your family, because we're 2 weeks away from camp and we could really start arguing with each other. But
touch some grass, please.
Please, guys, and go outside and just breathe a little bit. It's okay, man. We'll have enough time to yell at each other about the kicker and all that stuff. So, all right, for Steph, for Jason, we're out of here.
Peace.